We'll start with questions.
Coach, I know y'all were a good rebounding team, a good offensive rebounding team last year. Was there any more of a concerted effort through this offseason, to get y'all from 20 to 1 in the country, or is it just the roster that you have?
I do think the rosters help. And I think as we've learned as a staff, how we teach rebounding, how we practice rebounding, how we chart rebounding, I do think that that's influenced how we recruit just a little bit. I think it's become a new category. Dexter started a lot of that. That helped Jace numerically before we ever met him. I think the staff has continued to kind of find ways. Here's the data, and here's what we did in practice. Here's the influence that it had on scouting reports. I think we've just kind of continued to try to evolve in that regard. And I think some of it has helped that Henry's hearing it for his third year. And he's smart enough to pick up on, we made a tweak there, we made a change there. Andy's in his second year. I think that helps. And so when Wilden shows up, he's never heard of anything like what we're talking about, but he's getting the third version of it instead of the first. And so I think it's a combination of a lot of things. Our players know what rebounding drill we're going to do 2 days before. They know the different rebounding drill we're going to do 1 day before. They know when we're introducing an opponent that their version of rebounding comes into play from the very beginning. I think it's just I've learned so much from it, to be honest. It's just now woven into the fabric. Here's offense, here's defense, here's special teams, here's personnel, here's rebounding. And so it's just become a component of what we do.
I know last year you talked about, I know I'm going to get the name wrong, the rebounding effort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we call it effort.
I know last year you talked about the guys just as intent on that and the numbers they put up there as shooting numbers. Is that still?
Yeah, so we've done, that's part of the evolution. Like I do rebounding clips with different individuals, with different groups, with different couples each week. And I don't always give them the report card in those groups. Sometimes we do it as a team, but it's one of the first things that they want to see. And it's offensive rebounding and their responsibilities within the possessions they played. But then it's also defensive rebounding. And then now the clips, today's 2 days before. So today I'll watch clips with the get back group. Those are the guys that on the rise of the shot offensively, they're getting back. But they still have a responsibility on the defensive glass. Tomorrow is 1 day before, so before we meet as a team, and 1 day before, Jason H. our group. On the bus to shoot around, if it's a road game, Solo sits with me. That's his time. If it's a home game, it's 17 minutes before shoot around. So like they know. And the clips that I'm going to watch with them, Travis, some of them are good. Some of them are bad. Some of them are about them, but also some of them are about who we're about to play. So it's, I call it a mixtape. It's just a mixtape of good, bad, you, the opponent. You see your teammate doing it. Is that good? Is that bad? So I think that's a new thing that we're doing. It's added a lot more time to me, but I think that it has had an impact because I'm able to not just talk to the group. They know that they're going to get individual time with me only on that subject.
Buzz, Javon Quinterly's obviously had a impact on Memphis, and I wonder, as y'all prepare for this game, how much does it help that y'all have a experience with him?
Well, all of our experience with him is him just absolutely just whipping our ass. I mean, that's the experience. So I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily good or not. I also think Olin. Nothing against number 11. Obviously, we've played against him, but it's like number 2 against DePaul. We played against him in the league too. I think you'll do this longer than any of the coaches at Texas A&M. But as the years unfold, that's a question you can always ask because there's such turnover in rosters now. Like it's common, and so he is ultra talented, and their team is one of the best teams in regards to talent that has been at Reed Arena in a long time. They have 4 1,000-point scorers on their team. They're unbelievable. I mean, they beat Missouri at Missouri by 15 in the first week of the season. He's one of them, but they have 9 of them that are good enough to play anywhere in the country.
How do you think you guys have dealt with the law, like just being without Boots, and how do you guys go about replacing him when he's not available?
I don't think we can replace him. We've played without multiple guys every game this season, and so it's part of it. And so the accountability of every possession of every kid, because you don't know. We played without 3 guys against Iowa State on Sunday. And then it was 2 guys that didn't play at UVA. So I think it's to be honest, it's not really something we talk about, like our kids are aware. And so, okay, well, we got to figure it out.
So a lot of name programs here in this non-conference schedule. You're almost 10 games into it. How would you evaluate overall and how it's gone for you in that sense, in terms of upgrading that non-conference schedule in preparation for SEC play?
Well, as of today, it's the second toughest schedule among Power 5 schools. I think you have to have a roster that has experience and maturity to even embark on something like this. I think you have to know that if you're going to play that level of talent and that level of coaching, you should expect a higher volatility of injuries. I think you should also expect a higher volume of wear and tear on your high-minute guys, because if you're playing the best, your best are going to have to play more. I think you have to be willing to sacrifice the reps of the young people on your roster that in normal circumstances would accumulate some level of reps that are going to get 0 to just a few. And you have to be aware of how that could impact their decision come the spring. So I think there is a lot of good that comes from it. I think it forces you to be as mature as you possibly can be every day, because there's not going to be escapability for minutes in a game. Like, we played 27 minutes before we turned the ball over. Is that DePaul? I don't know. Because is it correlation or is it causation? It's like some of that, I think, Brent, is playing 6 out of 8 games on the road in November and the guys realizing, like, we cannot give the ball to the other team or we're going to get run out of the gym. Some of that is we gave the ball to Virginia 16 times, and I think we did a lot better in our next game. So I do think that there are lessons that are learned in real time, not just in clips or in words. It's in actions. But I also think this is the 6th week of the season. And, like, it's fun if you are just watching it. But the the presence of the blessing does not mean the absence of the work required, right? And so I think we've done okay. If you would have said to me in July, hey, this is where you would be at in week 6 going into 2 big games, you're okay with that? I'd be like, oh yeah, that's great. Here's your net. Here's your opponent's net. But I also think what it does that I'm realizing, and I talk to the staff about it a lot, and I talk to the team about it, it makes you be where your feet are, because you can get lost in the big scheme. Like, hey guys, now on Friday we're going to play at Ohio State, and then we're going to come back, and on Tuesday we're going to play at SMU, and then we're going to come back and we're going to play one home game, and then we're going to leave and we're going to be gone to Orlando for 7 days. We're going to come home for a day, and then we're going to go play in the SEC Challenge at UVA, and then we're going to come back. Like, you can get lost in the enormity of it all. And when your emotions go there, you have no shot. And I do think our team has been, arguably, that's where they have been the most mature. What do we have to do today? We can't play Memphis until Sunday at 3. We're going to work today at 3. What do we have to do today in preparation for being our best on Sunday? And I also think that it's held our coaches, me at the front of the line, accountable to, we got to be locked in on today. And I think that's good no matter what conference you play in.
What are some of the keys to get a win over a team that has so many different scorers and is also so talented?
They're super, super, super duper fast. All of them are wizards with the ball. And they've been the best player wherever they have came from. And so, this will be, I believe, their 6th game in a row not playing at home. And you can watch their last 2 games, their last 4 games. You can watch only their games in the Bahamas. You can watch only their true road games. Like, they have McDonald All-Americans. They have 4 1,000-point scorers that are all at least 22 years old. And no matter which game you would pick, one of them was exemplary that particular game. And then the next game, it was somebody else. And so how can we've played 2 games of 70 possessions or more. And every game they have played, except one, has been over 73 possessions. So that's just the tempo. That's a wide margin. And then can you guard them? Like, can you keep the ball in front? Because they have 7 guys that off the bounce, they can beat you off the bounce. And then when the ball is in the air, whether it's a pass, whether it's a shot, 8 or 10 of them are potential NBA players. And if they don't make the NBA, they're going to play professionally as their first career. It's just really, really, really high-level talented guys.
Piggybacking off Brent's question, does the fact that you have, as of now, 2 quad 1 wins already in your belt, as opposed to last season when it didn't come to January, is that a little bit of validation for the decision you made?
Yeah, I think we were talking about Brent's question and this question when I was training this morning. Gephardt is, I don't think he's the smartest guy in the organization, but he's in the top quad. And he, Josh, TJ, Gep, those guys study the net, Torvik, Kim Palm, like you do. And they've kind of figured out some subtleties of it all that are not on Twitter. And they have to kind of get it down to the first grade level where I can understand it when they present it to me. But I was talking to Gep, this morning about what we've been doing. And he was like, well, losing to Florida Atlantic today doesn't feel as bad as it did 2 weeks ago when we lost to them on the Friday. Because there's evidence that says that was a good game to play. I think there's some of that probably with UVA too. Versus, and this was his point, versus losing to Wofford in December of last year. And instead of the loss to a quad 1 versus the loss to a quad 3. And you know, like Iowa State just pummeled Iowa last night. And I've learned from listening to those guys, like, we need to be watching the opponent's nets and OERs more than our own, because we're aware of ours. But theirs are impacting us to some degree more than if we win or lose. And so, like, my struggle, and Coach Lair was in there, and that's kind of my struggle, right? Like, in all of this, the analytics, the new model, pick a category. I'm not old, but I'm not young. And so I'm kind of on the line, but yet this is my 30th year in college coaching. So it's not like I have been doing something else. And like when I was an assistant here, Coach bought out every home and home. He bought out of every home and home. And I was going in there with Mr. Byrne going, Mr. Byrne, we need to play this team. And we need to pay them this amount of money. And he's like, no, we just paid this amount of money to get out of that contract. And I'm like, yes, sir, but that was to get out of that one. And this is how much it costs to play this one. Well, we're 12-0 at when Big 12 play starts. You can do that now too, but you have no shot. You know what I mean? And so, like, you used to recruit a freshman, and if he had some potential and, hey, man, I think we're going to redshirt. That's not happening anymore. And so, like, just there's so many things that the prism has changed, and I've tried to adjust and be smart in those adjustments and try to understand it better. I'm glad we won, but in truth, Travis, I'm just glad that we've played a lot of them. You know what I mean? And it's like, play a quad 4, play a quad 1. Okay, well, it's all predictive. You don't know what they're going to be. Okay, we only want to play the best teams in the country. Okay, well, who's going to be a quad 1? Who's going to be a top 30 team and come to Reed Arena on a date that we have it available? Who is that? There's only 30 of them. Well, you can study it. Those 30, they're playing at Madison Square Garden in a pay-for-TV game. They're playing in Indianapolis, pay-for-TV game. They're playing in Vegas, pay-for-TV game. It's not just as easy as, hey, you're a good team, let's play. No. Because of how it's playing out, what is our game going to be for Ohio State? How is Ohio State looking at our game? I would say they scheduled it thinking it was quad 2. They're cheering as much for us as the people that show up on Sunday. Because, hey, that was a quad 1 game at home against Texas A&M. Like, but you would never have signed a contract in 2010 going, hey, this is what it's going to be. You know what I mean? It's just, everything's kind of flipped.
You just mentioned you've been in this, 30 years. I know you've gone against legends in this game. So is that old hat, or is it fun when you got a guy like Eddie Hardaway on the other side?
I don't know, Coach. I used to buy shoes, but I don't know, Coach. I don't think anything. I've tried to. I don't know how much longer I'll do this, And so I'm not young and I'm not old, but 30 years doing anything is a pretty, in my opinion, a pretty established career. I think I've done a better job, Olin. Like, I don't think I feel near as anxious talking to you guys anymore. So this lasts 6 minutes longer than normal. I'm so much better with our guys. Like, I have great relationships with our guys. And that's been one of the best things I've done as a coach. And now I think I'm even better because all of this is just moving so fast and it's so volatile. And not everything makes sense. Hey, that guy ain't on the team no more. What happened? I don't know. Well, that guy, he's hurt. He's out for the year. Well, what happened to that coach? I don't know. They fired him in the middle of the year. What happened to that assistant? Well, he quit. He got in trouble. Like, just everything happens so fast. And it's the news of social media. That's why I quit social media. Josh is running it for me. Like, I think that was impacting my brain and impacting my heart. Like, it was speeding me up where I would never slow down enough to, yeah, this is huge. Sunday afternoon, we're playing an NBA Hall of Famer who cares enough about kids that he wants to coach, and he's only going to coach guys that have a chance to play in the NBA. That's who's on his team. But I also remember when the first time Rick Pitino wrote me a letter. I remember the first time I introduced myself to Jim Calhoun. Like, I remember all of that. Not to say I'm cool. That's not what I'm saying. But that was when I was 34, and now I'm 51. And, like, I see Quanzo Martin. Quanzo Martin may be one of the top 10 men ever employed as a college coach. Hadn't been in it for 2 years. Chris Mack wins 75% of his games at Xavier and gets the longest contract offered that year of guaranteed money. And he takes his kids to his school on a Sea-Doo every day, not coaching. Like, it's just ultra. You guys have seen it in your business. Who buys the newspaper? Like, it's just, our business has changed. So has y'all's. You know what I mean? And, like, I would say as long as you guys have covered this place, there used to be, like, a bunch of people that came in here. There's the local TV, I guess. That's who they are. Here's Texags. We know how that started. There's the local paper, and there's the big city paper. I don't know who these two guys are, but they're in here a lot. But this is the group, right? And that's just, the world's changed. It's Thanksgiving.